evening. It's Monica from Life as Art and Scrap. It's almost Monday. Let's create. I'm just going to see if I can get the camera a little closer in. There we go. Hopefully y'all didn't get seasick there during that transition. Oh, it's still a wonky. Gonna have to stand up to do that. Sometimes I am successful getting it lined up before we start, and other times not so much. It's just a little bit iffy some days. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy. So I know you're here, and if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. I see my mom is here. She was ready and waiting. We are a couple minutes late starting because I was trying to get my camera set up, and it all of a sudden started going live. I must have hit the screen. So I had to close that down, get my camera up, then start again. Oh, gotta love it. Anyway, pardon the coughing, still coughing, but it's slowly getting there, I guess. We are going to be creating this evening using some interesting things from the catalog. We're going to be using the Thoughtful Journey DSP, which is a 6x6 DSP. We are also going to be using the Beauty of the Deep stamp set, and we used this one during the Dive in Crop. And so we're going to be using it again because, you know, once we have those lovely tools, stamps and dies and things like that, we want to find out different ways to use them, right? Hey, Heather, nice to see you're watching. Then we're also going to be using the mini alphabet dies for our title, etc. And we are also going to be using the adhesive-backed transparent dots for some embellishing on the layout. So lots of fun things, and there's even a couple things else that are not in the catalog but are still available online that we will be using for our layout. The first thing we want to do is to grab our base page, and our base page today is a piece of black cardstock. Now, it's not that often that you see me start out a layout with black cardstock. Quite often we use white, that's for sure. But not so often with the darker color, but it's gonna work for this layout. It'll really just play up the theme and hopefully give you some fun ideas of things that you can create as well. We're going to be bringing in some specialty paper to start this layout, and hopefully the lights won't be too crazy with this paper because we're going to be using some of the Oxidized Copper Soecialty DSP. Isn't this gorgeous? There's two different kinds of oxidized copper in the pack. There's one that has that brilliant sort of lagoony, peacock oxidization that you see on copper, that greenish tinge. And this one is actually the oxidation before it gets to that stage where it's just kind of this tanny, glowy color. And so I have cut a piece of this that is 11 inches by 8 3/4, and that's going to sort of set the stage for our photos and everything else that's going to happen on this layout. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back here, and I want to not put it in the center. Quite often when we start out with a layout that has multiple photos or something, we maybe do a little bit of matting and we put things in the center. So this could easily be put in the center, but I want to create a little bit of an offset with this. So I'm going to make sure I've lined up my base page. I didn't stick it down today because we're going to have to scooch it out of the way later. And what did I say? I said 8 3/4. So 8 3/4, which leaves us 1, 2, 3 1/4, and half of 3 1/4 is 1 5/8. So we're going to go up to 1 5/8, and we're going to stick it down because we're centering it top to bottom, but we're going to line it up with the right hand side. So we're going to have some of the base showing at the top and bottom, and a little bit down the side as well. And that's going to kind of make it a little bit dramatic. So we have that deep dark black background, and then we're adding our oxidized copper on top. I think that looks pretty cool. Then we're going to bring in some of the Thoughtful Journey 6x6 DSP. Now this piece has been cut down a little bit. It is still 6 inches wide, but I've cut 2 inches off the bottom. So we now have a 4x6. And I thought that this paper looked brilliantly with the oxidized copper. I keep wanting to call it brushed copper. There is brushed metallics, but this is oxidized copper. And but I want to put a little bit of a buffer in between the Thoughtful Journey DSP with these gorgeous sort of it's got Cajun Craze and Calypso coral, and it's got some wild wheat in there, some peach pie, lots of lovely colors going in there. In this collection, there's also pretty peacock and blueberry bushel, I believe, lots of really gorgeous colors. But I thought, because the theme of this layout, if you saw the title as you clicked in, is Pyrography 101. Now, if you don't know what pyrography is, it is wood burning, and I do wood burning, and my daughter decided that she would like to give it a try. And so, about 2.5 weeks ago, she tried wood burning for the first time, and so I snapped some photos, and that's what we're going to be scrapbooking today. And when I was looking at this Thoughtful Journey, which is, in my mind's eye, it's supposed to be sort of a reflection in the water of some, weedy bits and bulrushes on the side of a pond with some, shrubbery in behind. That's kind of the impression I get. But I kind of thought it had that look of sort of something that's been a little bit distressed by fire. A little bit of flame has happened to it. And so that's where I got the inspiration to use this paper from. So I cut my base here, or my matting, at 6 1/8 by 4 1/8. So I'm going to go ahead and layer those two together. There you can see on the back some of that pretty peacock and the blueberry bushel on there. So I'm going to go ahead and layer these two together, and it's just going to give a tiny little edge of the black cardstock all the way around this piece of the Thoughtful Journey DSP. And I want you guys to think about the fact that you can use 6x6 papers to do scrapbooking. You just sometimes have to be a little creative with it. Now, our oxidized copper is a 12x12 paper, specialty DSP. I'm just going to lay that there. I'm not going to stick it down yet. I want to, am I going to put the title on? I'll put the title on. Yes, I will put the title on. So let me show you the photos, just so you have an idea of where we were going. So here is my daughter, and she is working on the first little lines of her first time using my wood burner. So she has a little wooden disc here, about the size of a coaster. And I think it's balsam wood or something, really nice and soft and easy to work with. And great to start out doing pyrography. And so she drew her own design and got started with that. Let me grab a couple more photos. Then at the end of this pyrography session, I said, okay, let's take some pictures. Mom needs pictures because she's going to have to scrapbook this. So there's, here you go, Mom. Here's the picture that you want to take of me because you insist. And you can see there, hopefully, the artwork that she created. She's fascinated by eyeballs and like dragon scales and all that kind of stuff. So she made a funky pattern. And then of course I was like, I can't really see your eyes. You know, the haircut needs to happen soon. And so this was the next photo that she gave me because she's a ham. Right? So she's like, can you see my eyes now? And then I'm like, okay, tone it down a little bit. So then she gave me like the one eye side. And so, of course, all the photos have to go on this page because, you know, that's just, it shows her personality. And sometimes you just got to do it, right? So let's add some, these are all 3x4s. So my photo mats are again going to be in black to match what I did for the part that's going to show my title. Let's just go ahead and stick adhesive on all of these. And so those are 3x4s. So we're going to get 4 of those on this layout. And I've done the mats the same, just a little bit of, you know, 1/8 of an inch bigger. So 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, just to give a little rim of the black to kind of buffer it from that very shiny background. And of course, that coppery color looks so good with Julia because of her hair color. She's got her little ginger hair going on there. And so it just works. It just works. So we're going to put those 2 at the top because that's, you know, that's her sorting out how to use the wood burner. And then, of course, let's add all these other photos down here below, trying to get them evenly on the photo mats. And we're going to kind of put them in the order that we took them. With her craziness going on. Say cheese. Okay. Okay, I can't see your eyes. Okay, can you see my eyes now? You know, with the crazy eyes. And then, okay, well, that's a little much. And then she gave me the funny side smirk. What a ham. What a ham. You know, when your kids have personality, it just comes out in your photos and in your scrapbooks, right? So one of the warnings that I gave Julia when she was doing this, I said, you know, you keep the temperature at a pretty even level on the wood burner. So as long as you keep, you know, moving at a, you know, reasonable rate, nothing will catch on fire. The smoke alarms will not go off in the house, you know, because I've done a lot of wood burning and, you know, the alarms have never gone off. But I said, there is a chance, you know, you could catch something on fire. It is, you know, heat and wood. And so I said, don't catch yourself on fire either. So that's going to tie in to our title here. So for my title, I decided to spell out using the mini alphabet dies. And you are probably going to start guessing what it is as I put it down. So I'm just pulling in all the letters here. This girl. Any guesses what this is going to be? Type it in the comments. This girl. And you'll notice that you see this little sort of horizon. I'm using that to help me line up my letters. Any guesses? This girl is... This made me laugh when I was coming up with it. And Julia came in and gave the nod of approval on this layout. Just so you know, she has given the approval already. Sometimes I don't get approval ahead of time. Sometimes, what is that saying? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. She almost always approves of what I do anyway. There we go. This girl is on fire, even though she wasn't on fire. We made sure of that. So let's go ahead and stick that title down. Now, this is a fun kind of situation that we have going on here, because this could easily be translated into pocket scrapbooking as well. You can make a nice little 4x6 card like this to put in a pocket scrapbooking page too. So it kind of translates. You can also use this same kind of setup for a card front. So you could use this same kind of paper and cut out a title or a sentiment. And I like the idea. I originally had it just kind of like centered on it, but then I was like, oh, I'm totally missing out on this little horizon that's happening here, and which will definitely help me line up my letters. And if they look a little jiggly, it's okay because we're following the horizon line, right? So I can blame it on that if it looks odd. Always gotta have something to blame. All right, so this girl is not on fire, but we're gonna go with that. Of course, it's a song title, right? So those of you who are watching, you're probably now got the melody of the song rolling around in your head. You're welcome. A little earworm for you, as my husband would call it. And I'm doing my method of putting some glue on my hand, just a thin little skiff of liquid glue, then using my tweezers to pick up the letters. That one's upside down. Actually, I had a really cool idea. The this and then the on are almost the same no matter which way you put them. So I had thought about flipping this second one over so that it looked like a reflection. But then I thought, oh, that's probably just too hard to read. But it did look kind of cool because the R lines up and the I lines up. Like it's really, and the E and the L are very similar in shape. So then I thought, oh, people are just going to think I'm weird because it's not different enough. It's kind of one of those things where it's close enough you can flip it, but almost too close, so people would be just like, why'd you put your letter on wrong? Like, they might not get it. So I decided to forego that whole flipping the thing. But that would be a cool technique if what you were sticking down kind of was easy to read both directions. And if you were doing like maybe say a sentiment over some ice or something, or a frosty playing on the skate rink kind of layout, you could totally reflect some words like that across this kind of horizontal line, horizon line. I call it a horizon line. It's not really a horizon line, but that's what we're using it for. All right. Now, when I was sticking that second line down, I started at the front and came in, and from the back and came in. So now I can just put my on in the remaining space and center it in that space. If I had started at this side and gone across, I might have ended too early and then felt disappointed because I kind of wanted it to be the same length as the first line of the title. So there we go. Let's go ahead and stick these all down to the page. I'm going to use a pokey tool here to help me with the removals of all the things. And let me just get myself in the right space. I want it about there. And yes, I am leaving extra space over here. You will see why in a minute. So we're going to kind of, oops, I need some adhesive on here. Let's do them all while we're at it. And normally I would rub that glue off my hand so it doesn't bother anybody who's a little bit squeamish about glue on your hand. But I'm going to use it again in a minute. So it's just going to stay for now. All right. Let's take your pick tool. Make sure we have the first photo we want. There we go. Now this is going to be a little bit different than normal. So I'm going to line this up in the same position as the one above, like that. But instead of going to the other side, like I did with the letters, I'm going to do the very next one. but I'm going to leave a little less space in between these two photos. And you will see why once we get everything on here. Because this, these are 3x4s, and that's a 6x4. But because of the matting and the space between the two photos, this is smaller than this. And so I want to squeeze these together while still allowing that oxidized copper to show through, so that I don't have to leave as much of a gap up here, because I want these photos to end at the same position, give or take. So there is going to be a larger gap in between these two here, but I want it to line up. It's crazy, I know. Just needed to line up. And but there we go. So then what we need to do is add a little bit more information. So she's not actually on fire. She's doing Pyrography 101. So that's what I called it, because I was teaching her, which took all of like 2 seconds. And then she was like, yeah, I got it. I can do it. So I've got the letters here to spell out Pyrography. And I've got to make sure I got to make sure I spell it right. And pyrography is just the fun way of saying wood burning. the proper way. Pyrography. And then 101. So the mini alphabet dies, let me just grab them here. The mini alphabet dies have all the alphabet. Some of them are double letters, so that you can, cut it out maybe twice to get all the letters you need. Then we've got letters that work in other languages, and we've got symbols, but there aren't any numbers in this set. So I wanted 101. So I took the L, I took 2 L's and an O, and I just kind of fussy cut them to make my 101. So there's my 101, and I made it work. Sometimes you just got to make it work. So I am going to kind of space this out a little bit. I want them to kind of start and stop at the same spot, top and bottom. Graphy 101. That looks good. Okay, let's stick them down. Anybody want to check in the dictionary and make sure I spelled it right? Now, because I'm doing this in this direction, I'm actually using my 2 edges to help me center my letters and keep them straight. And it's a fun technique to have sort of like a title for your page, but then a subtitle. And often you use a different font. I'm kind of limited in what I have to work with for supplies from Stampin' Up! At this juncture. I'm getting a little squishy there. I need to not be so squishy. Make sure I stick it down good. So I don't really have other fonts that are big. So I just work with what I have, like manipulating my L's to look like 1s, right? I figured, what's too hard about making a 1? I could have used any number of the letters to make a 1, but I figured the L was the easiest. Pyrography. H. And I thought that this oxidized copper, besides looking good with the Thoughtful Journey DSP, I thought it also kind of had that look of sort of crackly fire. And so I thought it was thematic. 101. Well, we got as close as we could to centering, and I think that's a-okay. All right, let's put a lid on that. I'm going to wipe the glue off my hand now. go, just like in kindergarten. Gotta peel the glue off. I think we're good. Okay. All right. How's it looking, everyone? Are you enjoying that glow? Hopefully it's not too startling in the in the lights. Sometimes the lights can be a little bit much on shiny things. Now, I want to add a little bit of embellishment on this. And so I thought, because she was working on a disc, that I would bring in some circles from the Stylish Shapes dies. And these are ones, they have a stitched line all around them. So I took the 3 smallest circles and I used the extra little bit that was on the bottom of this piece of paper. And so they're gonna matchy match because I cut them out. Let me just kind of line them up here. I got a big one and another big one, and then the middle one, and then the smallest one. So I cut out 5 circles out of that little 2" by 6" piece. So waste not, want not. We used the whole piece of 6 by 6 for this layout. And then I thought, okay, well, let's go ahead and we'll kind of spread these around on our page. And let's see, we'll kind of layer them up a bit. We'll add kind of like that. How's that? Maybe we'll actually turn that around like so. And I thought that looks kind of cool, but I want a little bit more. I want to layer up some embellishments. And so I thought, what can I use that has kind of just something that would kind of go with this, you know, backgroundy, foliage-ish, stick-like background on the thoughtful journey. I know that's a great description. You know, words elude me sometimes. But I wanted something that kind of had that same feel. And then I was looking at stamps, and I was looking at this beauty of the deep, which has no sentiments. It does have a couple fish and an anchor, but then it has like some splatters. It's got some sort of seaweedy, corally stuff, some coral, this little bursty thing, these seaweed leaves, and this other leafy bit. And I thought, you know what, this coral could be kind of interesting, and this larger sort of leafy corally thing could be interesting because they're just really cool textural elements. And even though this has nothing to do with underwater, let's give it a try. So let's take a piece of wild wheat, which is one of the coordinating colors, and you see it here in the circles and on this page. And let's scooch this out of the way for a minute. And also the Cajun Craze, which is one of the coordinating colors, and our coral stamp. We're going to stamp some Cajun Craze onto our wild wheat, just like that. Let's see what happens. Let me just set that aside and grab my scissors. We always need to do a little bit of fussy cutting, yes? That just goes without saying. So I'm going to rough cut first around my coral, and then we're going to do some fussy cutting. So we're going to go around, following the edge, leaving a halo of that wild wheat showing, and we're going to kind of go with all the nooks and crannies. Sometimes we just sort of skirt over the nooks and crannies, but for this particular usage, we're going to delve into them all, or at least most of them. Maybe not every single one. And we're going to go all the way around. And what we're aiming for is sort of a flamey, sort of textural, sort of matching with that thoughtful journey. And I think this is a good exercise for people to try, is to have an idea and then just look at their stamps in terms of shapes, not in terms of what the actual item is. Like this is a coral, and my layout has nothing to do with coral, although she could obviously would burn some coral. Not as in burning on coral, but burning a picture that looked like coral, right? However, she was not doing that. But let's just go all the way around. I like that I'm chose the wild wheat for this. I haven't really used wild wheat. It is an interesting color. It's kind of one of those colors when you look at it, you're like, ooh, what would I use that for? You know, it's not necessarily one that you're like, ooh, that's so gorgeous, I'm going to use it on everything. You know, so it's not like a Night of Navy or a Misty Moonlight, because, you know, me and blues, they're my favorite. But it has its place, and it really works as sort of a neutrally background that isn't white. I didn't want to add white to this because I wanted this little bit of white to be sort of the thing that popped in the background. So we can take this crazy little bit of corally stuff and tuck it in behind these circles. So it's just kind of sticking out, and I think it just kind of goes. It just kind of does a thing. And so, of course, we need a little more. So I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me cut oodles of corally goodness. So I went ahead and stamped and cut a bunch ahead of time. And then I can just add it in. And I'm kind of, if you notice what I'm doing here, most of my circles, because it was transitioning from sort of this color to this color, they sort of got like a half and half of the two colors going on. And I'm adding these corally embellishments in behind the part that has the darker color as opposed to the lighter color. And I think it just works better that way. Although I say that, and then on this one, I'm actually going to tuck this one in under that smaller circle like that. So, you know, even when I say something, then I go ahead and break it. make it a little different, you know, just for funsies. Okay, now before we stick anything down, I have another thing that I want to do. So I'm going to scooch my layout over here again. It helps to have lots of extra space beside you, so you can kind of keep moving back and forth, or just have a larger space. But with the camera, it kind of inhibits that. I'm going to bring in a bit of scrap paper and another pattern from that Thoughtful Journey collection is this, and it's the back side of another one of the beautiful watercolors, and it's just kind of done with splotchy watercolors, but it's in that wild wheat color. So we're keeping with that theme, and I wanted to bring in the larger corally leafy goodness. It almost looks like netting that's happening here. Or in our case, it could look like funky flames and texture, but it also went with her project that she created that sort of had like almost like dragon scale on it. And I'm going to bring in another color that's very similar to the Cajun Craze. It's just a different kind of tone of the same color. It's the Calypso Coral, and I just have it in a little Stampin' spot. And what we're going to do is we're going to ink up our coral here, or our vegetation, our underwater vegetation, and we're going to kind of cover this piece of paper with this pattern. So I've got my scrap paper here so I can stamp off the edge. Gonna ink it up a little more. And stamp again. And we can even move our pattern around so that it kind of fills in the cracks around itself. Let's ink it up again. And inevitably, I stick my finger in the ink. In the stampy inky goodness. And let's add some more. And I like that it has this fun kind of shape. Let's turn this around like so. And let me see. Add that there like that. We're just kind of filling in all the available spaces. There we go. One more maybe. I stuck my finger in it again. It's a problem with a little Stampin' Spot and a great big stamp. You inevitably get part of the stamp inky and then stick your finger in it. At least I do. It's inevitable with me. All right, so let's see now. We have created this fun Calypso coral pattern on top of the sort of watercolor pattern that's under here. And now let's bring back in our layout. I want to do a little bit of paper tearing. So let me see. I want to tear towards myself like so and create that kind of torn up edge. And we're going to go ahead and just tuck this under here and follow the top edge of our layout. So it's going to look like something is just kind of burning through from the other side. And then let's do another one of these. Let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. I want to have a little bit of jaggediness to it though, so we'll kind of do a little more. There we go. And we're going to tuck this one on down at this bottom part like that. And I hadn't decided if I was going to put one over here. So I think I like just the two. We do have 3 embellishment clusters, but I think I just want the 2 torn parts. But just in case, I have another piece here because I was playing with this earlier. No, I think I like just the 2. So that solves my conundrum. Okay, so let's scooch this out of the way. We can go ahead and stick these down. Like so. Who else likes adding little torn bits to the edges of their layouts? Have you done that before? Have you stamped up some paper and stuck it down? Let's put ourselves back in the center here. And stick it down like that. Then we can add our circle on top. Let's put it on kind of like that. We're going to tuck one of these guys underneath. I went through an entire crop yesterday in person without doing much coughing, and now I've done as much coughing in this short video as I did all day yesterday. It's nothing like a talent, right? All right. Then let's grab this next piece and stick it on. And maybe this last dot, let's grab a dimensional to pop up this last one. And I'm going to do 2 at a time here, just so I can kind of get them where I want them, I think. That looks good. All right, now let's come in and stick these ones down. Who else uses their stamps in weird ways for weird embellishments? Anybody else? Am I the only crazy one? That just looks at a weird stamp and says, hey, I could totally use that on this layout. I think it's a really good idea to try doing things like that because you just never know what might happen. You could come up with something really cool. And maybe we'll pop this one up with some dimensionals as well. We might even put 3 of them on this one. Woo! There we go. What kind of plans does everybody have for the week ahead? Anything exciting happening? Julia has a thing next Saturday. She's going to be competing in a live art competition in Brampton, which that's going to be exciting. She's never done it before, and she'll be one of the younger people there because it starts at age 13. So that will be interesting. So if you're in Brampton next Saturday, there will be people in the downtown area doing live art out and around in the park and in the downtown. And you can wander around and see them making art. And Julia will be there. All right, let's see. I want this about there-ish. Line it up at the top. And then let's add some adhesive. What else is happening this week? Well, next Saturday evening, we have our Scrap It, Don't Stash It event. So if you're free on Saturday night, you can join us on live on Zoom for that event. You can see it listed in the events. All right, which way were we going with this? I think we were going that way, weren't we? So let's kind of layer those up like that. And then let's add a dimensional to this one. There we go. Let's go ahead and stick that on there like that. How cool is that? I'm loving this. I think it's super fun. It's kind of a different color vein than what we would typically go to, I think. Okay, so now I'm also going to bring in another stamp set that is called Love This Moment. And it is great for doing like pocket scrapbooking, journaling, that kind of thing. It's got like little tick boxes. It's got little symbols like for calendars or journals. It's got some larger words, little embellishment. It's got journaling lines and sort of little taggy lines. And then it's got all these fun sentiments. Happy with you, who, the story, this moment, this picture, details, notes, highlights, and so on. When, where. And so I'm going to use 3 of the little sentiments from this. Just going to scooch that over. And I've cut 3 pieces of peach pie cardstock, which is one of the in colors this year. And I'm going to take my black Memento ink here. And the first one I've got is this picture. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp it on there. And then I'm going to take this moment. Actually, I can probably stamp both of these on one. I'll just stamp it down at the other end. And then lastly, I'm going to take I Love This and stamp that on there. Looks good. Look at that. Didn't even need all 3 pieces. Save that for something else. And then I'm going to cut these apart. My little scissors here. Snip some edges. And I had thought about distressing this so that it looked a little more distressy like everything else in the layout, because all this kind of stuff looks a little distressed. But I kind of like that it pops. So I'm going to add these down here, kind of like a little bit of journaling. This picture, this moment, I love this. And you know me, I like sharing art. I like making art. I like sharing art. I like teaching people how to do art. My camera's gone out of focus. Let's see if we can bring it back to focus. It's probably having a little bit of a difficult time with the all the shiny bits and me moving around like a crazy person. And that includes my kids. I love sharing things with my kids, teaching them how to do things. You know, I've taught them crocheting, I've taught them painting, I've taught them lots of things, or at least given them a start on those things. Some of them are way better at things than I am at this point in time. But, you know, parents, you spend a lot of your time teaching your kids things. And I like to teach other people, but I also like to teach my kids. So let's go ahead and add this. And I like this picture because it's, you know, the eyeballs, right? This picture. And then this moment. Now, something that I thought about is where I'm going to do my journaling on this page. And I'm thinking I actually might just do a tiny little bit of journaling on this circle there, because I think that would work. There we go. Or I might tuck something under there because I didn't put adhesive in this little spot, so I might put a little tab and stick something under there. There's always those options. You can even put a tab in behind one. I'm using my tweezers here so I can see where I'm lining things up. There we go. And then we also need a little bit of bling, because I know we have embellishments, but a little bit more bling doesn't hurt. So like I said before, I have the transparent adhesive-backed dots, which I have chopped up to no end. And I was thinking about using this dark green. And it's not the green from this collection, because I don't think, let me just grab my list here. No, garden green is not one of the greens in here. There's pretty peacock, but not garden green. But I think it will work. I think it's close enough. So let's grab some of these and add a little bit of something to our page. Let's stick that one there, like that. We can put one there. Let's see if we can grab another one. And one there. Just kind of trailing, bringing everything together. Then let's also do one there. Hopefully you can see all the way down here at the bottom. We'll tuck one in there by the corally bits. And we'll stick one up here like that. And then let's go one more spot. Let's add a little bit here. A couple big ones. And a little one. And I'm leaving this one kind of blank because I think that's where I'm going to write just a tiny little bit of journaling on there. And there we go. We have completed our layout. Pyrography 101. This girl is on fire. We started with our black cardstock. We added in the Oxidized Copper DSP, the specialty DSP, for a really fun, glowing background that kind of has that ooh, on fire kind of feel. Then, of course, the lovely Thoughtful Journey DSP, putting in our letters. We've got black matting to kind of pull you back from being too much and just kind of mellowing out the too much. And then, of course, adding in some circles using the excess paper from the Thoughtful Journey. We took another background piece from Thoughtful Journey, did some stamping using those corals, and then stamping coral on wild wheat and putting that around just for something to break up the straight lines. A little bit of bling, a little bit of words, and I am loving how that turned out. I hope you do too. I hope you feel inspired to look at your stamps a little differently and to find ways to use them that are not traditional, and just think of them in terms of shape and texture and Don't be afraid to tear your paper. Don't be afraid to use lots of words on your page. And always think about having a little bit of neutral. Using black on something is never a bad idea, even if it's just for the stamping of the words, because even in like home decor, they say every room needs a little bit of black somewhere, because that draws it draws you into the room. It captures your eye, draws you into the room, and I think black does that on the layout as well. All right, have a wonderful evening and a great week ahead, and get crafting. We'll see you again soon. Toodaloo. Bye.